It is my pleasure to welcome you to the 2021 International Speech Contest for District 55, and it is my added pleasure to introduce you to our contest chair. Our chair for this event is past district director and past region advisor, Stanley C. Stan has been an amazing part of District 55 for as long as I've been around. So, which to be fair is not all that long, but Stan is a wealth of knowledge and an amazing help. And we are grateful to him for chairing our International Speech Contest tonight. At this time, please help me welcome Stan C., Distinguished Toastmaster.
Thank you, Madam District Director. What an honor and privilege, and what an excitement we will all be observing this afternoon. I appreciate all of those who are here. I appreciate our dignitaries, President-elect Margaret Page, for coming. I especially appreciate our district trio, Melody Moore, District Director, Program Quality Director, Kathy Moore, and our Club Growth Director, Livia Mitchell. Thank you all for coming to our contest this afternoon. We are still waiting for one. I want to assure you, by the way, that because someone has asked me if I was going to bring one of my pets with me, and I've made arrangements for them to be taken care of. But if you should see this rascal, then that means that he got loose once again. And I may have to chase him out, or I have someone else to take care of him for me. But other than that, we are ready. And I still don't see one of our contestants here.
Garima's here.
Oh, I agree. Okay, great. All right. Mike Carr has first joined Toastmasters 25 years ago to help his speaking stay on track, stay on time, and eliminate filler words. At that time, he had one wife, one child, and very few stories. 25 years later, Mike cannot count the ways Toastmaster has helped him in life and work. Today, he still has one wife, but now he has 8 kids and many, many more stories. He's a member of Austin Toastmasters and Laughing Matters Toastmasters in Austin. And he has been blessed to represent his clubs in a contest or two. When not being a dad, Mike is a partner in a financial planning firm. He speaks frequently to groups on the subjects of leadership, business growth, and storytelling. Mike is a 2020 world champion of public speaking, where he won the contest on Toastmasters' first virtual stage in history. We will now turn off the chat session for everybody, and I welcome our Toastmaster for the contest, Mike Carr. Thank you, Mike.
My dear friends in District 55, and Margaret Page, who was my Toastmaster in the last contest I was in. It is so great to see all of you. I'd like to start with just a brief story. I stepped onto the stage at the World Championship of Public Speaking semifinals. I was one of the final speakers. I gave a speech that, in my estimation, was the best I'd ever given to that point. And it was a speech that was very, very dear to me. And then when they announced the winners, announced the results, I did not even place. The year was 2015. We were at the Toastmaster International Conference in Las Vegas, Nevada. I went to the semifinals, having come in second 2 years before, and I did not even place. As we stood up and started to mingle through the ballroom, all of a sudden, Marie Pierre was right in my face. And as I started to say, I am so sorry, she interrupted me saying, Mike, we are so proud of you. The way you changed that speech, it was great. And then person after person from District 55 kept coming up saying, thank you so much. We are so proud of you. You did a great job. My dear friends, over this last year, I've had a lot of opportunity to speak around the world, maybe more than any other past world champion, because we were all virtual. One of the main questions I get over and over again is, what is the secret sauce at District 55? If we look at Austin and San Antonio, there are 3 world champions, 2 Davids, David Brooks and David Henderson, and some guy named Mike. In the last 2 years, someone from District 5 came in the top 2 at the World Championship of Public Speaking. What is the secret sauce in District 55? And my friends, I want to tell you that you are the secret sauce. You support not only contestants, but all of our family in clubs and areas and districts, at divisions. Anytime new members walk into our clubs, we say over and over again, from club to club to club, something like, hey, come to this Toastmaster club because you can fail here so that you don't fail in front of the board of directors. One of the clubs that I'm in, I try to practice humor, and I'm not a funny guy. I'm not. They will tell you quite over to the side, Mike's not a funny guy, but it's a great place to fail. My friends, thank you. I only have that trophy because of you. You have been supportive. You have been helpful. I could go on for hours naming individual names of people who I need to say thank you to. But to all the contestants who are here, to all the future contestants, to any visitors, I would say you are supported by a cloud of individuals who love you, who are cheering for you, who are excited to hear the messages that you're bringing from your heart. You are not in this alone. You are in this with a family. You are in this with a tribe. And it is so great to be a part of District 55. I would tell you, try things here, because somebody one time told me that the victory is not in the results. The victory's in the try. That kind of works. Should write a speech about that one of these days. Nah. Instead, I think we should listen to a contest today. I think we should hear some great, inspiring speeches that we can cheer, that we can lift up, that we can hug virtually these wonderful people. Let's start out with a big round of applause for all of these great contestants. Everybody, show it. Reactions and emojis and all that stuff. These folks have worked so hard. And we are so excited to see you bring what you're going to bring today. Now, since this is official, I have all kinds of fun things that I get to read to you. The first one is letting you know that by attending this remote district speech contest, you agree to the privacy policy of Toastmasters International, as well as the associated remote hosting service. That's exciting stuff, eh? Some of your personal information, such as name, image, and any shared information may be shared with other participants and will be recorded by Toastmasters International, who may be using the recording in the future as it sees fit. Your remote attendance hereby discharges Toastmasters International from all claims, demands, rights, promises, damages, and liabilities arising out of or in connection with or distribution of said video recordings, including but not limited to any claims of invasion of privacy, appropriation of likeness, or defamation. All right, we got it? Thumbs up if we all got it. I'm looking at my script, so I'm just assuming everyone's thumbing up. All right. The International Speech Contest will consist of a series of timed 5 to 7 minute speeches that will be judged by a panel of judges. The contestants and the judges have certified their eligibility. The contest chair and the chief judge have confirmed the eligibility of the contestants and the judges. The winner will represent District 55 at the regional competition. These proceedings are designed to ensure that we run a fair contest and that each contestant is given a level playing field on which to compete. The following announcements are made in the interest of having a distraction-free environment for our contestants. Number 1, please place all cell phones. That bears repeating. Number 1, please place all cell phones or other devices that make noise either off or on silent. Please mute yourself and remain muted unless you are asked to respond to contest officials. I am going right now to put my cell phone on airplane mode. Number 2, no photography or screenshots of the contestants are allowed during the contestant speeches. Please put away cameras, smartphones, tablets, all devices that take pictures. There will be photo opportunities after the speeches. Video recording is allowed. The Zoom host will record the contest at the direction of the contest chair. Number 3, once the contest has begun, members of the audience are asked to refrain. We implore you to refrain from leaving or re-entering the main Zoom room. Public chatting will be turned off until the final contestant has spoken. If you must leave, please do so during the times of silence between contestant speeches. The Sergeant of Arms will not allow anyone to enter the room during the contestant speech. Members of the audience are asked to stop sharing video during the contest, with the exception of the timer. And having been in a contest when a video was shared in the middle of my speech, can I please underscore that again? Please do everything you can to stop sharing video during the contest, with the exception of the timer. Mr. Contest Chair, have all of the contestants been briefed? Are all the contestants present, and are we ready to proceed with the contest?
Yes, they have, and yes, we are.
Mr. Chief Judge, have all the contest officials been briefed, and are we ready to proceed with the contest?
We are ready to go forward and up.
In order to allow the judges time to mark their judging forms, we will have 1 minute of silence after each contestant speech, and we will have silence after the last contestant speech until all the ballots have been submitted to the chief judge or the judges move into a separate room. Timekeepers, will one of you signal me when 1 minute has elapsed between contestant speeches?
Yes, yes, we will.
Thank you. The speaking order for the contest was determined earlier by having our contestants draw for position. The order of the contest will be Lisa Troggett, Ernestine Kubicek, Tom Singer, Erica Sosa, Garima Sate, Sandy Watson, Al Telemontes. All contestants may remain in the room during the contest. Are there any questions? I'm coming back over to the visual to see if anyone is waving wildly, but they're on mute.
Everybody's muted. I'll take any questions to the host in chat if there are any questions, but I don't see anything, Mike.
If not, the International Speech Contest will now begin. Please turn off your video at this time, with the exception of the timer and the first speaker. Lisa, are you ready and can you see the timer?
I can see the timer. Can you hear me?
Yes. Lisa Troggett, along came a spider, along came a spider, Lisa Troggett.
My 4-year-old daughter, Riley, wouldn't budge. She wouldn't budge. We were swimming at Mansfield Dam in Austin, Texas. Now, coming down the hill had been easy, but the steep incline back up put my daughter in a panic. Riley wouldn't budge. My husband, Henry, ever the fixer, focused on the obvious things. Just step on the little rock, sweetheart. The more we told her there was nothing to fear, the more frightened she got. My husband was already at the top of the cliff. We were still stuck next to the lake. Just carry her, Lisa. Have you ever held a terrified child? There's more thrashing than a sack full of cats. This wasn't a logistics issue. Whatever her thoughts were, they were holding her back. It's okay, I'll stay with her. Riley, what are you afraid of? There are spiders behind the rocks. We all have our own mountains to climb, right? But our fears are like spiders crawling from the crevices of our mind, preventing us from taking that first step. I understood her fear because I felt it myself. I was 8 years old. This is back when Ronald Reagan was president, Cabbage Patch Kids were all the rage, and there were only 2 Star Wars movies. I was sitting in the back of music class, where I always sat. Even though I said nothing, my eyes said everything. And my music teacher, Mrs. Diefenderfer, was the first person to notice that I wanted to be noticed. Darling, why don't you raise your hand? I see you want to. Mrs. D was smart. She knew to listen. Listen twice. Get to the heart of the problem. What are you really afraid of? Everyone will laugh at me. Mrs. D knew I wanted to perform, but my fear of making mistakes were the spiders that scared. Shyness was my mountain. So she cast me in the school play. Now in the back of class, I might have been silent, but on stage, I was free. I could be as loud as I wanted without fear of being teased because I was in character. Think of a time when you were insecure, or you felt this intense pressure to be perfect. You were so scared you were stuck in a spider web. You spun yourself. Then someone comes up to you and says, I'm going to help you see yourself the way that I see you. Mrs. D helped me climb a mountain that day to overcome my reticence and discover the storyteller in me that I didn't yet know existed. I know my daughter, and I didn't want her to feel glued in a gorge or cower in some corner. Now, I could have carried her up, but like Mrs. D, I want to help her climb any mountain she has to in life. I had to listen twice, get to the heart of the problem. You see, you can't climb your mountain until you squish your spiders. What about the spiders, sweetheart? What are you really afraid of? Mommy, if they bite me, I'll fall. Oh, Riley, even if the spiders come, you can do this. I promise I won't let you fall. She trusted me enough to take that first step. And I encouraged her along the way. You're so brave, Riley. And then along came a spider. But unlike little Miss Muffet, Riley went all Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator and started stomping on the spiders. Hasta la vista, baby. And kept on climbing. She picked up speed as her confidence grew, as though the trees around her were chanting, Riley, Riley, Riley. What I already knew, she was about to uncover for herself. She made it to the top. Look, Mommy, I did it! This is the moment where we find wisdom. We learn life is full of mountains and spiders, but there are blessings because they reveal our strength and build our character. There's a Mrs. D in each of us. So how do we reach back and draw the shy one forward? Reach down, pull that scared one up. Reach out and inspire one another. Listen. Listen twice. Get to the heart of the problem. Help the Riley in your life. Stomp on their spiders. Stand on top of their mountains so you can hear them say, now, I can see myself the way you see me.
One minute of silence, please.
No, that's for you.
No. Oh.
Yeah, you.
1 minute.
Ernestine, are you ready? And can you see the timer?
I'm looking for the timer. There's Doug. Okay. I'm ready.
Ernestine Kubitschek, Piercing Words. Piercing Words, Ernestine Kubitschek.
If you can't take it, go home to mama. Those were piercing words to a young girl who adored her older siblings and always wanted to be as good in academics and sports as they were. The hit on the leg by that darn baseball was still piercing with pain. I looked across the street at our house and I looked out back into the park. I wiped the tears off my eyes. I grabbed my glove, retook my place out on the field, and continued in the game. Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, a person who has vision, determination, good work ethics can overcome piercing words to become a leader and accomplish life and career goals. I'm sorry, Tina, but we don't have the money to send you to college. Those were piercing words for a young graduate who had visions of going off to the University of Texas like many of her classmates. That's okay, Mom. That's okay, Dad. I can get a job and work my way through college. I looked for a job, and a month after graduation began my career as a telephone operator. I immediately worked to get my shift hours so that I could enroll in the local college. I enrolled and I worked full-time and went to school full-time. And in 4 years, I had earned my degree and paid for it. School behind me, college behind me, a great future in front of me. Ernestine, they won't accept your application because you're a woman. Those were piercing words to a young woman who was trying to improve her speaking skills through the local Toastmasters Club. Newly promoted, I was speaking in front of audiences all over Texas and Oklahoma. I needed good speaking skills. Well, we have submitted your application several times. We can submit it under Ernest, and it would be accepted because Ernestine is a female's name. I had already served a year as secretary of our club while trying to become a member. I thought about it. I wrote more letters, and after 9 months with the support of my employer, in January of 1973, I became the first woman Toastmaster under a woman's name. And I was installed as Vice President of Education. This past January, I celebrated the 48th anniversary of my membership in Toastmasters International. I'm sorry, Tina, but a corporate executive has pulled the funding to your MBA degree. Those were piercing words coming from my manager in 1985 after he had written all the letters supporting my application in the Option 2 MBA program at the University of Texas at Austin. I had even taken the GMAT cold turkey and had gotten accepted to the program. They had sent me my books, which for the first semester, which was going to start in 2 weeks. I wrote a letter to the College of Business saying, thank you for acceptance to your college. I am a single parent and I am working in a corporation and my funding has been canceled. I can't afford to pay for that tuition right now, but I will apply again later. In 1990, I reapplied to UT and was accepted. I was so excited. I had always dreamed of attending this college. Dreams do come true. I earned both my master's and my PhD. Dr. Ernestine Balderrama Kubitschek, why aren't you a distinguished Toastmaster? Those were piercing words to someone who had broken barriers 42 years ago in order to become a Toastmaster. A few calls to the right people, hard work, determination, and a year later, I was Ernestine Balderrama Kubitschek, PhD, DTM. Fellow Toastmasters, this is the story of an American woman of Mexican and Spanish descent who was born and raised in Brownwood, a town right in the heart of Texas, who heard many negative, piercing words and still accomplished her life and career goals. Along the way, there were other negative setbacks in life. Shortly after college, I married my high school and college sweetheart, who died tragically 2 months and 2 days later. My second marriage ended in divorce, but gave me the greatest gift on earth, my son. My successful careers were with 3 of the top Fortune 500 corporations, and I worked both with entry-level and CEO employees. Most of my accomplishments were made when I was single or single parenting. Today, I am blessed with a 28-year marriage. I'm a new grandmother to a 7-month-old baby boy, and I'm still visioning a future with other major accomplishments. I may hear more piercing words along the way. I can handle them. Fellow Toastmasters, when you have faith, vision, determination, and good work in ethics, you can accomplish anything. Challenges are merely a way for you to find to overcome them and accomplish your own life and career goals. Mr. Contest Chair.
One moment, please.
One minute.
Tom, are you ready? And can you see the timer?
Hang on, I don't see the timer. Let me find him on the scroll. All right, as long as nobody leaves, I see him now. Yeah, we're good.
Tom Singer, How to Spot Fake News. How to Spot Fake News, Tom Singer.
Information overload. We live in a time where we have more information coming at us than at any time in human history. We have information coming at us from our phones, from our tablets, from our laptops, from our newspapers, from television. We have information coming at us from our significant others, from our friends, from our children, from our neighbors. Information is coming at us constantly. It's exhausting. And my fellow Toastmasters, one of the downfalls from living in a world with so much information is we have to be careful for misinformation or fake news. Now, I know for a lot of you, fake news conjures up things from the United States presidential election. But really, fake news and misinformation, it has been with us forever. As long as humans have walked the earth, there have been people who were misleading others. If you go back to the Greek city-states thousands of years ago, many of the leaders would do things like tell their citizens that they won some great victory in a faraway land, when in reality, people around them. However, it was misinformation. And one of the founding fathers of the United States, Alexander Hamilton, he actually founded the newspaper, the New York Post, so that he could write about his political rivals anonymously, and sometimes not even true. Fake news. And then along comes the internet, and information is coming at us from all types of sources, and we have no way of knowing whether those sources are being nefarious, giving us fake news to deceive us, or whether those sources are just misguided, like that wacky aunt you have who forwards you that email that's been forwarded thousands of times that says you can have a beach body by eating nothing but frozen pomegranates for 2 weeks. You can't get a beach body from pomegranates. More fake news. So we have to be on guard to make sure we're not deceived, to make sure we're not led down a path. And I learned this lesson. I learned this lesson very early in life. My first memory, the first thing I recall as a human being was on a vacation with my parents in a beach house. I had 2 rooms, a master bedroom for my parents with a single bed for me and my 3 much older brothers. See, when I was born, my siblings were ages 10, 12, and 14. They had to sleep in sleeping bags out in the living room. Now, I want to ask you an important question. What is cooler to a 3-year-old than a sleeping bag? The answer is nothing. So I would wake up in the mornings and I would play with those sleeping bags. I would pretend that I was camping. I would build tent cities all over the living room. And my first memory is one time I crawled to the bottom of a sleeping bag and the boys zipped me up in it. Then they rolled me up in it. Oh yeah. And then they proceeded to toss me to one another. And then they told me they were putting me on the top shelf of the closet. And they warned me if I moved, I could fall off. I could break my arm. I could die. And then they left me to go play on the beach. And I did what any 3-year-old would do. I totally freaked out and started screaming and crying in the sleeping bag for my mom to come rescue me. And my mom did what any mom would do. She came running to the rescue. And I said, "Mom, help me. I am on the top shelf of the closet." I was freaking out. And my mother said, "Oh, sweetheart, you're on the living room floor." No, I am on the top shelf of the closet. The boys told me so. And my mother said something I will never forget. She said, "Sweetheart, just because someone tells you something, it doesn't necessarily make it a fact." Wow. Now I tell you this story not to make my brothers sound like monsters, because I have great older brothers. We have an awesome relationship. But I tell you this story because what I learned from that is something that you can do to help yourself keep aware as you're looking at information that's coming at you from countless sources. So the first thing to do, number 1, is be aware of your surroundings. You see, when the boys zipped me up and rolled me up, I kind of got disoriented. So therefore, when they set me down on the floor, I didn't realize they weren't putting me up on the shelf. So if you're aware of your surroundings, it's less likely for you to be deceived. The second tip, call in someone else with a different point of view. As soon as my mother ran into the room, she could see clearly that I was not on the top shelf of the and she was able to coach me through sitting on the living room floor. Other people's, their point of view can be very important. And then the third tip is you got to do a little bit of introspection. You have to question yourself and maybe other people around you to make sure what you're believing isn't a deception. You see, if I had really thought about this, I should have known. I had wonderful older brothers. They never would have endangered my life. But I wasn't thinking it through and I didn't ask those questions. So therefore, I believed something that wasn't true. Now, this can happen to all of us in any situation. Sometimes it's on purpose that people are trying to lead us astray, and sometimes it's with good intentions, like that wacky aunt who just wants you to eat pomegranates. But either way, you have to be aware. So remember what my mother said, and that is, just because you believe something is true, or someone has told you that, doesn't mean it's a fact. And that, my friends, is how you can spot fake news. Mr. Toastmaster.
1 minute of silence, please.
One minute.
Erica, are you ready and can you see the timer?
Yes, I'm ready. I can see the timer.
Erica Sosa, never stop on the uphill. Never stop on the uphill. Erica Sosa.
I still remember the huge crowd around me, adrenaline surging through my veins. We set our watches as we heard 3, 2, 1. The 5K or 3.1 mile race had started. Before I continue that story, let me tell you, I love 5Ks. Not only because of the physical competition, but in running and training for 5Ks, I've learned valuable lessons that have helped me in running and in life. Today, I will share with you 3 of those lessons. Lesson 1, keep your pace. Once the 5K started, I started sprinting, weaving in and around the crowd. As someone passed me, I sped up and I passed them. Someone else passed me, I sped up some more. Before I knew it, I was in the front pack of runners with the fastest runners in the entire 5K. I was so excited. I remember wondering, can I keep this pace the entire 5K? It turns out I could not. I was in no shape to sprint an entire 5K. My body soon realized it as I slowed down, and one by one, runners passed me. I asked my friend, an avid runner, after the race, how I could prevent this from happening in the future. He told me, keep your pace. He explained that trained runners set a goal time. They then calculate the pace for each mile to reach that goal. This way, they're not distracted by the runners around them. I applied this lesson to running, but also to my life. I have very clear goals and an action plan to reach those goals. I do my best not to be distracted by people around me. How quickly this person received the promotion or that person brought the fancy new house. Instead, I keep my pace. Lesson 2, never stop on the uphill. At this point in the 5K, I'm no longer with the front pack of runners. I'm with the much later pack of, I don't even think you consider us runners at this point. We're shufflers, just trying not to walk. And we're doing a good job too, as we round the corner and see the biggest hill that has ever existed. Or at least it felt that way. The soul-crushing image depletes any hope and optimism we have as we stop and slowly walk up the hill. My runner friend said he understood if I needed to walk during a 5K, but he told me no matter what, never stop on the uphill. He explained that after every uphill, eventually there will be a downhill where gravity helps and the run gets easier. He told me that's when I could walk. I took his advice. I noticed though, whenever I would push through and reach the top of a hill, telling myself it was okay to walk, I was so accomplished, I felt accomplished, and I was excited about the easier run ahead of me. I would keep running every time. This lesson applies to my life because my life, like everybody else's, has its fair share of uphills where nothing is going right, everything is a challenge, and downhills where everything aligns perfectly. I do my best to persevere through the uphills, knowing eventually there will be a downhill where all my hard work will pay off and things will get better. Lesson 3, train for the sake of training. Once I eventually finished the 5K, I wanted to forget all about it. But instead, I called my running friend. I asked for his advice and a training plan. I didn't plan to train for any specific outcome. I thought there was no chance of me ever being a competitive runner. But that day I decided to train for the sake of training. I'm glad I did. Through consistent running, I developed discipline, a contagious discipline that would help in my personal and professional life. The training plan also gave me structure and consistency. I didn't realize how important that was at the time, but then the pandemic hit. Running became my therapy. It was that one small area of normalcy in a very abnormal time. Finally, through training for 5Ks, I learned valuable lessons that helped me and positively impacted all areas of my life. Lessons such as keep your pace, never stop on the uphill, and train for the sake of training. Because throughout life, we want to remember to stay focused, persevere, and enjoy the journey of life and the many unexpected lessons it brings. Mr. Toastmaster.
1 moment of silence, please.
One minute.
Garima, are you ready and can you see the timer? We cannot hear you if you're answering.
Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yes.
I can see the timer.
Are you ready and can you see the timer?
Yes, I can see the timer. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes.
Even
Excellent.
now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm ready. Daddy, find Garima. Boo! This was my favorite childhood game. Little did I know that this would become a lifelong quest for me. Growing up, I was treated like a fairy tale princess, always loved and pampered. My dad used to say, Garima, you are my little lighthouse, a spark that can brighten up a dull day. My fairy tale life took a turn when I was 9 and Aunt Meena came to live with us. If you thought Cinderella had a wicked stepmother, wait till you hear about my aunt. Her sole mission in life was to domesticate wild girls. One day I was preparing a special birthday song for Daddy, the traditional birthday song from unknown author. I was running around the house singing out loud, Happy birthday, Daddy, happy birthday, Daddy. Now, Aunt Meena looked very annoyed. Oh, Garima, do you know you are a girl? How did she know I was a girl? Isn't she a genius? A girl is supposed to be proper, quiet, and disciplined. When I looked unconvinced, she tried a different tactic. You know, there are monsters out there looking for young, loud, and boisterous girls like you. They catch the girls, take them to deep, dark caves, and eat them. Darling, you listen to me. I suggest you hide, keep quiet, and blend in so the monsters cannot see you. Now at age 9, I really got scared of the monster she described. So I decided to listen. I took a dab of darkness and hid my light and blended in on the canvas of life. For 15 long years, she trained me, giving me a blueprint of how I should behave. Her voice was like a constant noise in my head. Don't shine, blend in. When I got married, Garima, give up your high ambition and selfish dreams. And like a good student, I listened. I followed my husband like a shadow in the dark as he traveled the globe in pursuit of his dreams. The truth is, friends, I let others dictate my life and tell me I wasn't enough. Even when I came to the US, at my very first job, my boss asked me to change my strong Indian accent because she didn't like it. And to please others, I continued, changing, morphing, blending in to such an extent that I had lost my voice, purpose, and identity. I had lost Garima. I had become so dark and miserable that I could not keep anyone happy, not even myself. My relationships were falling apart. I remember that day when I looked in the mirror and thought to myself, Garima, what have you done to yourself? I don't even like you anymore. That was the worst day of my life. But it was also the best day because that's when I declared enough was enough. And I started finding Garima. First and foremost, I tore the blueprint given by the society. Second, I meditated and healed my broken heart. I found that little light my daddy saw in me. Third, I nurtured my connection with that little light and prioritized my dreams and passions. I needed to find my voice, so I joined a public speaking Toastmasters club. My fellow Toastmasters supported me and helped me refine my message for this world. I embraced being a girl, an Indian, and a loud extrovert, and started teaching Bollywood dance classes. Now I dance to my own tune, and that makes me happy. As I became happier, I became a better person, mother, and wife. My relationships were magically transforming. I have understood that my only purpose in life is to be myself and to shine so bright, because that's when my little light becomes a lighthouse and shows the way to others lost in the sea of life. This folk song from unknown origin has almost become my mantra. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Now, I may not be the real Taylor Swift, but I have found the real Garima, and I love her. Have you ever felt lost or made to believe you're not enough? Don't let anyone define who you are. Find yourself, connect with your little light, and let it shine. Mr. Contest Chair.
1 minute of silence, please.
One minute.
Sandy, are you ready? And can you see the timer?
I'm ready. Can you speak again? You were warbled.
So are you ready, Sandy? And can you see the timer?
Yes.
Sandy Watson, a little old lady, Sandy Watson.
Do any of you believe in angels? What do you think they really look like? Are they heavenly creatures that glow and have large white feathered wings? Or do they look like a small child with tiny wings and chubby cheeks? Some people think angels are just very sexy women that model underwear. Whatever they look like, angels are popular. You can find them in books and magazines.
Okay, I think we need to halt. You're frozen, Sandy.
Okay. I don't know what's happening.
David, that might be your problem.
So what do we do now?
Hold on just 1 moment, Sandy. Take a breath.
Okay. Oh, shoot. Because it's not frozen on my end.
Right. No, you're fine, Sandy. Just hang on for a second. Anybody else confirm that Sandy was still fluid? She looked fine.
He's still
It
fluid.
was still fluid.
Fluid.
So timer, please give Sandy an extra 30 seconds.
Yeah, go ahead, because I got kicked off of Zoom, as a matter of fact.
Timer, please give Sandy an extra 30 seconds. And Sandy, just take a quick breath. What you want to do is just kind of back up to your last sentence or transition and pick her up, okay? You got this, girl.
Some people think angels are just very sexy women that model underwear. Whatever they look like, angels are popular. You can see them in books and magazines, on television shows, and in the movies. And they're always beautiful. Except in the movie I saw recently, the one with John Travolta, where he plays the Archangel Michael. Have you seen it? He is not beautiful. He's homely, unkempt. He does have wings, but they're dirty, and he keeps them tucked inside of an oversized, worn-out trench coat. Is that what angels look like? His character reminds me more of a homeless man I've seen wandering the streets downtown San Antonio. Or the guy that stands on the corner begging. I'm not proud to tell you this, but if I saw someone that looked like that coming toward me, I would hightail it across a busy street just to avoid him. And if someone is begging when I pull up to a red light, I start shaking my head, no. I lock my door, roll up my window, and then I turn my face to make sure there is no eye contact. The entire time thinking to myself, dude, just get a job. What? I never said I was an angel, but I have changed, and it's because of a little old lady. Several years ago, on a splendid summer day, I just finished buying groceries and walked out with a basket full. At the time, I drove a convertible, so all I had to do was take them right out of the basket and into the back seat of my car. When finished, I turned to put the basket away, and there she was. Maybe chin high. Her face was covered with deep, dirty wrinkles. She wanted to know if I could help her with some food. Before she could finish the question, I looked down at her and I said, I am so sorry. I can't help you. And turned my back on her. That's when I saw it. A loaf of bread sticking out of one of the many bags of groceries I had just put into my car. The same groceries she had just watched me put into my car. Of course, she knew I could help her. I felt bad. I grabbed the loaf of bread, I turned to give it to her, and she was gone. Vanished. I searched for her. I searched up and down every aisle of the parking lot. She was nowhere to be found. I sat in my car, distraught, ashamed. I was raised better than that. I thought of all the things my mother taught me growing up, and I remembered one of her favorite Bible scriptures from the book of Hebrews. Chapter 13, verse 2 says, remember to entertain strangers, because by doing so, you may be entertaining an angel. without knowing it. As a child, I never completely understood what it meant to entertain a stranger. But I was certain if I saw this beautiful creature with wings, I would know it was an angel. As an adult, I understand. My mother was teaching me to be kind. Remember to be kind to strangers. Because by doing so, you may be showing kindness to an angel without knowing it. What if angels don't look like all the beautiful pictures you see in books and magazines? What if they look like the homeless that wander our streets? Or the person standing on the corner holding a cardboard sign? And what if angels look like a little old lady in a grocery store parking lot? Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, if you have watched the news lately, you know how unkind this world can be. We need to remember to be kind. Not just because we might be showing kindness to an angel, but because it is the right thing to do. Mr. Toastmaster.
1 minute of silence, please.
One minute.
Al, are you ready and can you see the timer?
Yes, Mr. Toastmaster, I am ready. I can see the timer. Can you hear me?
Yes. Al Telemontis, Lessons in Love. Lessons in Love, Al Telemontis.
Imagine me, a 24-year-old college student in the 1970s, big afro, big beard, big poncho. This was when I first met Barbara. She walked into the classroom, long brown hair, brown eyes, rosy cheeks, and she was wearing hot pants. She definitely caught my eye. But what drew me in was when she smiled at me. I wanted her to remember me, so I greeted her with my best pickup line. Hey, are you a parking ticket? Because you've got fine written all over you. That cheesy line was new in the 70s. Barbara glared. Wow, how are you still single? And she walked off. But contest chair, friends, did that stop me? No, I knew I had to be smarter. First, I asked if I could borrow her notes. The next day, I asked, can we talk about the lecture over lunch? One lunch led to another lunch, and we started dating. We dated for 2 months before things got difficult for me. Barbara started to share her deep feelings for me. She asked questions about my past, but I was afraid to share. I was still wounded from a failed engagement. I wanted to tell Barbara that I loved her, but I worried a day may come when she might reject me. I'd be hurt again. Have you ever feared being rejected? When I wasn't open to Barbara's questions, I could see the disappointment in her face. When the summer break came, Barbara flew back home. I didn't see her for months. As I thought about her, I replayed, I should have said this, I should have said that. And what if I lose Barbara? I needed advice. And back then, there was no Google, but I had the next best thing, Grandma. So one day I stopped by Grandma's house and I told her about my problems. Grandma gave me a glass of ice cold lemonade and she smiled. You're just like your grandpa, but one day he got it. Got what? Love removes the fear. Huh? Love removes the fear. Don't worry, grandson. One day you'll get it. I left Grandma with her line stuck in my mind. Love removes the fear. The day Barbara returned, we met at a park and I opened up my heart. Barbara, I had a failed relationship and I didn't know how to tell you about my insecurities. I was afraid to share, but I don't want to be afraid to love. I want to be a better man for you. Her embrace and smile said it all. From that day on, I shared everything. My struggles, my hopes, my dreams, my cheesy lines. Then one day, Barbara cupped my face and looked into my eyes. I want to share my life with you, Al. I got it. Love removes the fear. But it turned out there's more to learn about this lesson in love. Barbara and I married, and our love raised 2 beautiful daughters. At 18, my older daughter, Sarah, brought home Carlos. I noticed that Carlos wasn't open to my questions about his past. Then I saw he had a drinking problem. After months, I realized Carlos is not the right man for my daughter. So when Sarah confided in me, Dad, I want to marry Carlos. Absolutely not. I don't even want him in our house. Her lips quivered. Dad, if you reject him, you reject me. And she stormed out. I sat down on my bed. Have you ever feared for a loved one's decision? Barbara stormed in. Al Talamantes. When she uses my full name, I know I'm in trouble. If you reject this man, we will lose our daughter. What are you afraid of? He's too quiet. He drinks too much. You were the same way when I met you. I had faith in you. Sarah has faith in Carlos. Don't you see you could be the father Carlos never had, and he the son you've always wanted? Then she cupped my face and looked into my eyes. Don't be afraid to choose love. Then I got it. The full lesson in love. Love removes the fear when you choose to love. Fear made me reject this man, but I chose to embrace him as my son. Today, Carlos is a better man. He and Sarah have been married for 15 years. Their love raised my teenage grandson, Joey. One day we're eating pizza and Joey shares his struggle in talking to girls. I smile. Wow, Joey, you're just like me. Wow, you are just like me, Joey. But one day I got it. What? What did you get? Love removes the fear when you choose to love. Huh? Don't worry, grandson. One day you'll get it. Contest chair.
1 minute of silence, please.
One minute, Mr. Toastmaster.
Are all of the judges in their breakout room?
I don't believe they've left yet. So why don't we just give it a couple minutes, Mike, and we'll get the okay from David or Art.
Are you able to hear me better now, Jean?
Yeah, significantly. Yeah, thank you, Mike. That's great. Yeah, you got it fixed.
Thank you.
Harlan,
Yeah.
you want to, I guess, maybe liaise?
I am. I'm standing by to liaise. That's only in case of emergency, right? So, yes, I'm good.
Okay, just
If
check.
Mike falls, something happens with his glasses, I've been told to call 911. Is that not? That was not my job. Shoot.
Okay. So Mike, just let's do this one or two more minutes. I'll check with David to see if he's got his team assembled.
Very good.
Mike, we are good to get going.
Oh, so very fun. Participants, please unmute yourselves, turn on your videos and applaud and give a shout out to these contestants. Great job.
Send us away.
Woo! Oh, that was such a good contest. Will everyone, all the audience, turn your videos off now and mute yourselves again, except for the contestants. Will you please leave your videos on at this time? And we're going to
very confusing.
have some conversations. Oh, very good. Very good. Well, I hope you had all kinds of fun. We're going to go in the order that you spoke. So, Lisa, your first step, along came a spider. What a wonderful message. I'm interested. How do you feel? Well, before we do that, first, if you could just tell me which club you represent, how long you've been in Toastmasters, and anything else that you want to tell us about your Toastmaster experience in District 55.
My name is Lisa Troggett, and I'm representing Arthur Storer Toastmasters. I've been with them since, I guess, 3 years ago. And this year I've branched out. I'm also a member of Top Notch Trainers, and I started the Speakers Bureau Club. So we just started that, I don't know, a month and a half ago. And I'm just excited and looking forward to transitioning to becoming a professional speaker.
Oh, that's very exciting. And you've just recently written a novel. Is that right? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I've written 3 books. So the first book was a children's book called Mind Your Manners, Mini Monster, and it won a Silver Mom's Choice Award. Then I wrote my memoir, She's Losing It, about how I lost 50 pounds by entering a bodybuilding competition. And then the companion book to that was the SLI method, which was basically all of the diet and workouts that I did. So what I'm doing right now is completely different. It's a historical novel that takes place in the 18th century. So I've written the manuscript, but now I'm in the editing process.
Oh, very exciting. When is that? Do you have a due date toward that, or when is that targeted?
No, usually I go and I set an insane deadline for myself. But this time I just decided I really want to take my time and learn my craft. So I'm doing an online writing course, and I'm just really taking the time to get it right. So.
That's wonderful. Well, I do have to ask you the question that all of us are wondering. What is it like to hug John Cena?
He's a very handsome man. So to reference that, a couple of years ago, I was on a reality TV show called American Grit, and they took 16 people to represent different sports from different things. And so I represented bodybuilding, which you would not guess, but yeah, I do bodybuilding. And so my team ended up winning. So I personally didn't win, but out of 9 episodes, I made it to episode 5. Which my only goal was to actually get cast. So doing that was great, but we ended like on the very first episode, I got really scared. I couldn't climb over the bridge and rappel off a bridge. And so I sort of had a panic attack on national TV. And then one person who was an NFL football player kind of talked me through it, and I got through it. And my team actually ended up winning that thing overall. And so as a reward, I got to do whiskey shots with John Cena. So that was pretty awesome.
I got more than I thought I was going to get from that question. So thank you, Lisa. Congratulations on making it to district. And thank you so much for sharing the message that you did this morning. Round of applause from
Thank you.
Everyone. That is wonderful. Ernestine Kubicek, what an honor to hear your story this morning. Tell us a little bit more about some of the thoughts that were going on in your head as you were, well, no, wait, first I want to ask, please start with telling us what club you represent and how long you've been in Toastmasters and your experience in District 55.
Well, I represent Exchange Park Toastmasters, and I've been a Toastmasters for 48 years. This past January, it took me 9 months. I was a Toastmaster really 49 years, but TI wouldn't accept me. And I wouldn't budge. I didn't want Ernest. And it was a good fight though. And yeah, they were good though. I had a great employer. And I've been a member of District 55 since 2014 when I joined Exchange Park because I wanted to get back into networking with speakers and just learning.
Oh, that's great.
I always like to learn. I'm always learning from people.
Oh, that's wonderful. Do you mind sharing with us maybe the most recent poignant thing that you've learned and from whom?
Well, the most recent thing I've learned is, it's not so recent, but I've been using it a lot, is to understand how I prefer to work. I'm an innovator. And if you know how you work and you have jobs in the area that you prefer to work, you're successful. I didn't know that when I was going through my careers, and I was always so successful. But every job that I took was made for me, my management jobs. And I designed the whole thing and did it. And then I was promoted and I went and did it again. Then I left the company to go with an Exxon, and I did it again with them nationwide. And I never understood why I was so successful. And then when I got into another company where I had done that several times, and then I was a woman, I couldn't go any higher. I said, adios, I'm going to go finish my PhD. And I opened my own company, and then I knew what it was like to work outside of my preferred area. All the detail work.
Oh, so now I'm interested in the secret sauce. How is it that you work?
I'm visionary. If you have a problem, I know how to brainstorm. I taught quality circles, and I map myself. If you have a problem, I can map you. I can find the solution and do all that. But the detail work, we better go and bring in people who like to do detail work, and then we'll be successful. And that's how I build my teams, and that's why they've been successful. Had great people. But Tomas and Donna McIntosh Fletcher from Arizona are the founders of the work style preference patterns, and they're wonderful people.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, congratulations on making it to district, and thank you so much also for sharing your inspiring message with all of us today. Just applause to you.
Thank you.
Tom Singer.
Mike Carr.
How are you? So trying to spot fake news. So I'll start correctly this time. Would you please tell us what club you're representing and how long you've been in Toastmasters, and of course your experience with District 55 and Toastmasters as well.
So I've been a member of West Austin 2 for 26 years, 25 years, something like that. I started my Toastmaster journey in January 1992 and Balcones Toastmasters in North Austin. And then about 7 years later, I moved south. 6 years later, I moved south. So I found a new club on the south side of town.
I started in Austin at Balcones Toastmasters too, and Balcones Toastmasters also. And the shadow of you always followed me because they just always would say, well, do you know Tom Singer? Well, that's great.
But you're the world champion, so it all worked out.
So running and hiking is your favorite. What's been the most recent place where you've either run or hiked that was either the most recent or your favorite? And can you tell us about it?
Most recent, we spent Mother's Day in Chicago, and my 24-year-old daughter and her husband. And when I call him husband, they tried to get married twice last year, and COVID didn't let that happen. So I actually call him my son-in-law, not son-in-law, because the wedding is still on hold. But they just bought a house in Chicago, about a half mile from Lake Michigan. And so I went and did a 5-mile run along Lake Michigan last Saturday. We could go today.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And where else have you run or hiked that is in your top 3, top 5?
So I grew up as a city kid. I didn't like the outdoors. My youngest daughter, who is in college now, when she was 12, her desire was to hike the Appalachian Trail. And I promised her I would do it with her if she graduated college. And so now she just finished her freshman year. So in 4 years, she and I are going to hike that. So while I was never outdoorsy, in the last 5 years, I kind of reinvented myself when I turned 50. So I've been to Yosemite, I've been to the Grand Canyon, lots of places, Mike.
Well, and I know that you teach a lot about networking, and this is a strange world, has been a strange world. I mean, just look at the contests that we're doing, and it's transitioning. What would be the top tip or tips that you would give our audience about networking now in this environment?
So the number one thing is you have to be the person who reaches out, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, it doesn't matter. People need you. There are a lot of people who are hurting right now. They're going through some really rough times. And, a lot of people feel extremely lonely and distant. So look around at your network and don't just assume because someone's an extrovert that they're always happy all the time. Be the person who reaches out. And when you reach out to somebody and that day they needed to hear from somebody, they never forget that you were the person who was there. So take the action to reach out. And then the second thing is, as you're looking at networking and creating relationships and serving other people, helping other people, find ways to do it in creative ways. If you do everything the same way as your competitor, no one's going to remember. So put on your creative hat and go do something a little unique in your interactions with other people.
Oh yeah, I think we can all use those. So thank you for sharing, and congratulations on making it to district. Thank you so much for the message that you shared, and we'll look forward to seeing you again here in a little bit. Big applause for Tom. Erica
Yes.
Sosa, would you start by telling us, please, which club you represent, how long you've been in Toastmasters, and also any other experiences with Toastmasters and or in District 55?
Sure. So I'm representing North San Antonio Toastmasters. I've been a Toastmaster for a little bit over 2 years, and I'm loving it. This is my first competition or series of competitions. It's been incredibly exciting, definitely eye-opening to see what everybody else is doing. It's been the first time I've been able to really look outside the club and see the bigger picture, which has been interesting for sure.
Okay, so I have to back up and ask. So you've never entered a Toastmaster contest until this last cycle?
Right, that's correct.
And so you just landed at district. That's so much better than I ever did.
Thank you.
And so what did you think entering the contest in a completely virtual environment when you probably heard that it once was in person and maybe it probably will be in person again?
It's been an eye-opener. It goes along with everything else that we've been doing on Zoom lately. My job has been completely working from home for the last year, which has definitely changed the way we communicate, but I appreciate it now. One, I appreciate the face-to-face opportunities when they do come along in a safe setting, so distance and whatnot. But also, I think it's challenged me to be a little bit more creative in the communication in the virtual world that will hopefully translate and help me once we get back face to face.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I'm seeing here that one of your interests is sports. Do you mind sharing with us what your sports are, favorite sports?
Sure. I love all sports and I play many that I shouldn't be playing, but I just try to get out there and stay active. Right now I'm playing sand volleyball and I love it. Just being outdoors and being active has really helped me. It helps my attention issues as well. So it's something that I love doing and it's just been a good balance to my life.
Oh, that's fun. Ever played soccer? Is soccer ever in your background?
Didn't play soccer growing up, but as an adult, I joined an adult co-ed soccer social league, which was fun. I was an awful player, just like my running experience. It wasn't good, but I had fun and I enjoyed the social aspect. So
Many in District 55 rolled their eyes when I asked that, because I'm probably a broken record on being all excited about Austin FC joining Major League Soccer this year. So just, I had to bring it out finally. But I see here you'd said, what inspires you most? And I'll let you tell us. Do you mind? I saw what you wrote, but I'd like to hear you tell us what inspires you most.
I think what inspires me most is seeing people overcome obstacles. I believe it's very inspirational, because I think when you work through an obstacle, you learn so much about yourself that you don't have an opportunity to otherwise learn. And too many times we see these obstacles as something that is going to hold us back, when actually I think it propels us forward. And that's why I find that the most inspiring.
Oh, what a great message, and what a great message today. Congratulations on making it to district, your first time entering the contest. That's fantastic. And thank you so much for the message that you shared, both in your speech and also here in the interview. So big applause for you. That is great. Garima. Hi, could you please start, the question, could you please start by telling us what club you represent, and also how long you've been in Toastmasters, and any other experience you want to tell about in Toastmasters and District 55.
I'll start with my club. I represent the amazing T-Works Toastmasters, the finest club there could be. And I just love how Toastmasters becomes your extended family, and they support you in thick and thin. So I think Toastmasters in general and my club has been such an amazing source of support for me. They're like rock. Today, if I was able to speak, it was because of them. I was literally fighting my nervousness and anxiety yesterday. I lost my father this week, and I was missing him, and I was grieving, and between the emotional uphill and everything, I thought I would not be able to make it. And I got a call from my friend Toastmaster, the president of my club, Carr, yesterday, and she's like, "Hey girl, we were expecting to see you in the meeting yesterday and you weren't there." And I was like, I don't think I'm ready. I don't think I can do it. I was so nervous. I had made changes. I had not practiced it enough. Like, I had forgotten my older speech and I hadn't internalized my new speech. And it was afternoon yesterday. And she's like, dump everything, get ready. In next 2 hours, we are calling a meeting. And they all came to support me at 7 p.m. yesterday, and they made me rehearse. And if I am standing here today, it's because of them. They are amazing.
Yeah, I so appreciate your sharing that, and your vulnerability and transparency there. That's exactly the kind of thing at the very beginning that I was talking about, that this is a place, you're part of a family that supports, encourages, and maybe even cajoles a little bit. But I think I just want to stop for a minute and let all of us just send you love and prayers and good thoughts right now, because that's a rough time. It is the normal course of events, losing parents like that, but it always feels so surreal, doesn't it? And then to give the speech today that was a part with your dad. So applause to you. I think that's wonderful. I'll ask you again, you gave a favorite quote, if you want to expound on that a little bit more. The tiny seed that knew that in order to grow, it needed to drop in the dirt, cover it in darkness, and struggle to reach the light. Anything you'd like to tell us about that?
Yeah. I totally believe that struggles are real and all of us face it, but we have to remember that we are the seed And every seed has to go through that struggle and darkness, a period of uncertainty where maybe the seed is not sure what it'll end up being, but have faith. That's the way universe works. And if you are in struggle and darkness today, it's meant to bring light and to bring life. So I thoroughly believe it. I have seen it in my life, and that's what I coach people for.
That's wonderful. You've exhibited that today, so kudos to you. I was going to ask you to give us some dance tips. I think in a less heavy season, unless that would be life-giving to you right now, we'll take a rain check on that.
No problem. Always remember, this is my favorite Bollywood move.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, I can do that. Do I have it right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Towards your face and just, it's the peacock. So peacock with feathers.
Nice.
Dancing peacock.
All right. I have learned something today. That is wonderful. Well, congratulations on getting to district. Thank you for sharing the message that you did for us today, especially in the context of everything that's going on. And just applause and love to you. Sandy, how are you?
I'm okay. A few more gray hairs than when I started this thing.
Well, I'll ask you to tell me about that in a minute. But first, tell us about what club you're representing, how long you've been in Toastmasters, and your experience with Toastmasters in District 55.
I have been a Toastmaster for 4 years and am a member of the Downtown Professional Toastmasters Club in San Antonio. And I love them. We're small, but we're mighty. And what I want to say about District 55 is what an amazing group it is. If I hadn't had a little class earlier today about how to handle pressure and how to breathe and to not let things throw you, I probably would have crashed and burned a while ago. So it was a wonderful teacher the guy from Broadway Bank gave us. And I want to throw a thank you out there to Kathy Moore. Kathy is the queen of convincing you to do things that you never thought you would or could do. And it's without the people like her and the people that have backed me up and encouraged me for 4 years, I would have never been able to stand up here and give a speech. So thank you to all of you guys.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I'm noticing also that in a couple of your answers, you said you're a lover of the outdoors and what inspires you most is nature. I'd like to ask you, it's kind of similar to a question I asked earlier. What are some of your maybe top 3 places where you have been that have been most inspiring and that you've loved seeing nature and being outdoors?
Well, it's a twofold answer because the place that I've been that was most inspiring wasn't very beautiful. I was able to go on a mission trip to Haiti and I worked in an orphanage there. And it was in a town or a village called Cap Haitian. And it was not beautiful nature, but it was the most inspiring thing I've ever seen or done. Now, if I go somewhere where I feel in awe every time I'm there, it's just to the ocean. And it's just down at Port Aransas, which is the closest ocean I can get to. But when I stand there in the sand looking out at the ocean, everything else is tiny. And it's so easy to put everything into perspective.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. And along those lines, I also noticed that you mentioned that you enjoy fishing. Now I'm going to ask you can tell a whopper if you want to, but tell us about the biggest fish you've ever caught.
Okay. I was a young woman. So it's been several years ago on the Trinity River. Does anyone know where Trinity River is down in East Texas? And my children were so small and we were on a downhill to the river that I had my children tied to my waist in case they started sliding. Well, I caught a catfish, a a catfish so big, seriously, outside of the window here, that I couldn't pull in on my little fishing pole. I struggled, I got it to the bank, the line broke, but I was able to sit on it. I sat right down in the mud, straddled that catfish, and we brought it in. Dancing on ropes the whole time. But yeah, that was my best fishing experience. Now I know, and I just watch my pole in the water mostly. I don't catch anything.
Oh, have you ever been noodling?
I have not, because I don't think I could stand. I mean, it's enough just taking, putting your thumb in a catfish's mouth to get it off that hook, but to be sticking your hand in holes you can't see, I think not. I think I'm okay.
Yeah, for those who don't know what noodling is, there are places where big catfish are in caves and people stick their whole arm into the catfish's mouth, grab its spine and pull it out. So if you said yes, then we were going to spend another 15 minutes hearing about that. But Sandy, yeah, thank you so much. Congratulations on making it to district, and thank you for the message that you gave, and so great to see you. Applause. Congratulations. Applause to you. And Al, thanks for joining us. Tell us the club you're representing, and now you know all the questions I'm going to ask. The club you're representing, how long you've been in Toastmasters, and any experiences with District 55 or Toastmasters broadly.
Surely. Thank you, Mike. Well, I represent Equipping Voices in Bulverde, Texas. I've been there, and a great club and a lot of established Toastmasters as well as young Toastmasters just starting out. But I want to give a shout out to two other clubs that have also helped me. I'm members of two other clubs, Stone Oak Toastmaster in San Antonio, and Two Rivers Communicators in New Braunfels. All three of clubs have helped me as I prepared for my talk, and have just taught me a lot of wisdom and support from those clubs. But I love my Equipping Voices, the club I'm representing. I've been in Toastmasters for 14 years.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Tell us a little bit about, you can take your pick, some of your work with the homeless or mentoring prison inmates. You have probably seen some heartbreaking or inspiring stories there. And so if you don't mind picking one and telling us a little bit more about that.
Well, I did have a story in my lessons of love of another inmate. When I first walked in, his name was Carlos, like my son-in-law. And this guy had tattoos all over his bald head. And I remember I was so nervous in the gymnasium and surrounded by hundreds of inmates. And Carlos saw me nervous. And he walked over and he said, "Are you okay, man?" And I go, "Yeah, but man, I don't know what I can say or do to help you guys." He says, "Don't worry about it. Let me pray over you." And he prayed over me, Mike. And he prayed for 5 minutes. And I looked up and I saw beads of sweat on his bald head, his tattooed bald head. He was so intense and wanting me to calm down and to relax. And that struck me, a man who was there for the rest of his life, reaching out to me and caring for me.
That is inspiring. Human to human connection, regardless of the circumstance and context. That's something we all can dream of, attach to. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
That's wonderful. I noticed that your favorite quote is, "If you cannot do great things, do small things in a great way," by Napoleon Hill. Why is that your favorite quote? And is there a story around that?
You know what it is, Mike? It just that so many people don't realize that the little things count. The little smiles, the little pat on the back, the little word of encouragement. And that's what we find in Toastmasters. I'm looking out and I can see my New Braunfels Toastmasters. They are so helpful. And so they'll send me a text, they'll send me an email just to compliment. Little things that mean so much to you. And you expressed that early on, Mike, of what made 55 so great. And it's all those little things that add up. But I learned that more from my wife, Barbara. Can you imagine? Either way.
Right, right. So I've so enjoyed hearing about favorite places people have gone. What's the favorite place that you and Barbara have been together, and what was going on? What made it your favorite?
Oh, that was when we went to Italy, and because our daughter worked in Italy in Rome, and she had been there 2 years, and we decided to take a tour all around Italy and see all the places that were so historical. And Barbara and I loved the food, the atmosphere, but the Italian people, wow, warm and open, and just so generous. And I got to bond with my youngest daughter during that time. And she's a very spiritual woman. And I learned more from my daughter during that tour about her spiritual life and where she was going with it. And that made it, and Barbara and I are so proud of her. But that was a special time.
Oh yeah. Isn't it wonderful whenever we start learning from our kids and the wisdom that they have? Oh, that's a wonderful story.
Yeah.
Well, Al, congratulations on making it to district. Thank you for the story that you shared, and for the message that you gave us, and for talking with me here during this time. I would ask everybody again to come off mute, and let's give another uproarious round of applause, hoops and hollers for all these wonderful contestants. Well, that is wonderful. That is wonderful. My final remarks really are just thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this again with you. I love all of you. I am so missing hugging your necks or your arms or shaking your hand or whatever you allow me to hug. I'll hug you virtually. So virtual hugs to everybody, and just excited to be a part with you again in these things. With that, I'll just return control of this wonderful, wonderful contest back to our presiding officer.
And while he's here, everybody, let's give Mike Carr, our Toastmaster, a fabulous shout out.
Wonderful job. Wonderful. Way to go.
Thank you, Mike.
Mike, woo!
Great appreciation for all of our contest officials and all the tremendous work they put into helping put this contest on. Our timers, we had 3 timers: Deb Everington, Doug Kelly, and Laura Ollisov. Our Sergeant of Arms, Linda Williams, Blanca Kelly, and Bart Dozer. Our fabulous Zoom master, Jean Ramsey herself. And our Chief Judge and our ballot counters are still out of the room, I guess. Chief Judge is David Morgenthaler, and our ballot counters, Roxanne Merzaldi, Tina LeBlanc, Vidya Mandalvili, Desmond Calloway, and Angie Santos. So thank you for all of you. Our winner, by the way, the winning video, the next level of competition for the world champion is actually a video, review of the video. And so the winner's video will be submitted to Toastmasters International, and then they will be judged by regional judges usually I think it's in June or sometime. Our 3rd place winner, Finding Garima Seith. Our 2nd place winner, No Fear in Love, Al Telemantes. And our 1st place winner, representing District 55 at the regional competition, Along Came a Spider, Braga. And I believe our district director had a few comments that she wanted to share with us. Melody?
Thank you, Stan. Congratulations to our winners. Fantastic contest. Stan and team, I know that's David and Mike and Stan, wonderful job. Thank you so much for posting and preparing and working so hard to make sure that our contest went off without a hitch.